3:30 today, the Queen Mother Champion Chase. It's Altior against Douvan. Douvan's as big as 7-2. Would Douvan be anywhere near that price if we'd seen Douvan run once since last year?
It'd probably be more like 2-7. You know, I was getting the cab to the airport there on Monday morning, very early on, and Dylan's Lay Lady Lay came on, and the lay of the festival, I think, is Altior here. He's just taken on two really good horses in Min and Douvan. Douvan obviously has to prove that he's good enough to win, and he's coming back off a year's layoff, which is a hell of an ask in fairness, but the ground is quite soft, so it's not like he's going to be coming into a really fast terrain on his comeback. And I've no doubt whatsoever Willie Mullins is not taking a chance on him here. He's running him because he's happy with him at home. Douvan is still quite young. He's not going to be taking a punt that he's somehow going to restore himself to his greatness, with the fact that he's still quite young. So like, this is a very valuable horse that he values very much in terms of his talent and what he's done for him. He's not going to just throw him in there and then stay afterwards. Well, you know, we took a punt on it. With Faugheen, he's getting on. They put headgear on him. You could get the sense with Faugheen that, you know, they were kind of throwing a bit of dirt at the wall. Not with Douvan. And Ruby's riding him over Min. Min is 3 pounds below Altior in official ratings. That's very, very little. It's like a team beating a team in football by 4 or 5 points, and you can't say then they're not going to beat them the next day. You can't. And Altior, to me, he's had a breathing problem. He's only had one run this year. Didn't think he was impressive in the Arkle last year. I think he's been overhyped, and I've no doubt in my mind that Douvan is a better horse. The question today is, can he show it? And I think he can.
So, when you talked earlier on about tactical racing, is there any chance of Min and Douvan deciding that there's a specific way of taking on Altior? And I mean, obviously, neither set of owners, and I don't know if there's any commonality in the ownership, would be too keen on having theirs be the one that actually ends up taking on Altior, but that might just be the way it naturally works out.
This race is probably going to run to script in that you'll have last year's winner of the race, who's trained by Henry de Bromhead, Special Tiara, and Politolog. They seem to know only really one way of running, which is go to the front and stay there. Altior, Douvan and Min. Douvan and Min are both owned by Rich Ritchie, which adds to the suspense in this race, because it's kind of rare that he would run two of his best horses together. In fact, it's very rare, and they can basically just lob away. They'll have no tactical issues whatsoever. The race looks like it'll be run at a proper championship pace. Douvan's pressure will obviously be pressurised. He's jumping because he's making his first run back, and Willie's not a horse to over-school them either, even though he hasn't run in a year. Willie's probably done very little with him at home. He's probably just gotten him fit. He's probably done really little in terms of actual school, and he has his own ways of doing this, but you can be confident enough going into the race. It's annoying going into some Cheltenham races where you're not sure how tactics will be. I wouldn't worry about that here. And especially if you want to back him each way. I cannot see him being out of the first three. He was brilliant at Depperstown the last day. Great jumper, and tactics should be fine.
About 4-1 at the minute as well, so that you should get your money back at least on that. Is that the best race of the week? Is there a case for this to be the best race of the week?
Without a doubt, yeah. I mean, obviously there is that proviso about Douvan. Is he the horse he was? But on paper, anyway, it's miles better than, yesterday with York Hill, Bouverdere and Faugheen, which if they were all at their best would be one of the races of my lifetime, but Faugheen isn't, and neither is York Hill. This is an incredible race. I'm amazed it's happening at all, to be honest. All the talk at the weekend was that Douvan was going for the Ryanair tomorrow. Instead, he's going for this. He has declared for the Ryanair, incidentally, but that just looks a backup. And without a shadow of a doubt, the race of the week puts the Gold Cup in its halfpenny place, I think. And tell you, whoever wins of the three, and I think it will be one of the three, it's going to be a hell of a reception afterwards. The place is going to come alive.
Just on that point, Johnny, it kind of seems that Cheltenham's the only place in the world where the conditions actually wouldn't affect the excitement. And even when it comes to the bookies having a poor day yesterday, like they say, when it's wet you shouldn't bet, but it seems after yesterday the theory should be when it's wet you should definitely bet. And it seems that that's kind of the case with excitement as well, that the ground really hasn't made any difference at all from a neutral perspective.
No, the ground hasn't, although if it's really wet and damp tomorrow, and there is rain, I think, forecast tomorrow, it will affect things a little bit, because you don't expect to go to Cheltenham and have to be indoors. Like the Curragh was redeveloped, is being redeveloped at the moment, and for a couple of the classic meetings last year it lashed rain, and it was an extremely miserable experience. Now Cheltenham has great facilities, but I still think the ground hasn't been quite as bad as it could be, but a little bit of rain tomorrow. If it rains heavily tomorrow, we'll put a little bit of a dampener on it, but thankfully today is beautiful. I walked up, I'm staying near the racetrack, incidentally staying with Jamie Codd, who rides Cause of Causes today. not altogether sweet on his chance, and he's one of the big fancies of the day. He's worried about the rain. But I walked into Cheltenham to do the Skype this morning, and it's beautiful spring morning. It really is, and hopefully it lasts up and well into tomorrow.
Just to clarify, are you actually tipping Duvan then?
I am.
Yeah, grand. Okay,
with a saver on Min if you want. I'd be dead against Altior at the price.
Okay, right. So you could take those two to take on Altior and Sam Crow. Obviously, you're tipping as well, even at an odds-on price. Yeah,
if you wanted to have a bet on the race that doesn't involve an odds-on price, Willie has a horse, Duke de Ginevra, who's like third or fourth favourite, 12-14 to 1. I think he'd won a big race. I could easily see him come second. Incidentally, Gordon Elliott had a pretty poor day yesterday. One of his horses lost his life in the 4-miler, ridden by Lisa O'Neill, had a bad fall, and Apple's Jade was clearly one of the set-in-stone wins of the week. Didn't win, was only third in the Mare's Hurdle. He had a couple of other fancied horses who were beaten as well. So he will feel the pressure if Sam Crow is beaten in the first, and there is a little bit of, I suppose, intrigue about that as well. Because he's had a frustrating time so far. Gordon had a treble on the first day last year. He's had a blank so far, but Sam Crow, actually, Owen asked about the weather. If Sam Crow is beaten, the place will be flat as a pancake for a lot of people, including myself.
Just on that Duke de Ginevra mentioned there, looking at the rest of the Mullins horses there, you've obviously got Next Destination, which is the one that sticks out. But in Ruby's column in the Examiner this morning, he's mentioned Brahma Bull at odds of around 25 to 1 at the moment. And he's saying that Willie Mullins reckons this horse is flying under the radar and we could be in for something of a shock today in terms of a potential placing for Brahma Bull.
He might place, yeah. He's gone on a bit of an unbeaten run. He's a horse who stays well. The ground is going to suit him because he probably wouldn't have the class of maybe Duke de Ginevra and Next Destination. But, you know, you'd be very foolish to ignore any Willie Mullins horse in a big race. Don't mind the price, you know. A lot of the time the fancied horse is the one you should be taking on because of ground or whatever. And people assume, well, Ruby's riding such and such, so it'll win. But definitely it wouldn't. Although on this occasion, I wouldn't be expecting Brahma Bull to finish ahead of Duke de Ginevra.
In the RSA Insurance Novices Chase, which is the second race of the day, we need to talk about Presenting Percy here. It looks like going off favourite at the moment, around about 5 to 2. You like Presenting Percy, I think.
I do, yeah. You know, owned by Philip Reynolds, who's a son of former teacher Albert Reynolds, and Philip's had a winner at the festival the last 2 years, considering he only has a handful of horses, and trainer Pat Kelly only has a handful of horses. This is an incredible achievement, really. And Presenting Percy, his trainer is a strange enough character. You know, he doesn't really do interviews. His preparation with this horse has been very, very unorthodox. He's been running in preparation races that you wouldn't expect him to be running in. There's a huge amount of class. I think he might prefer better ground, but I'd be expecting either him or Mona Lee to take this. They're my two big fancies in the race. Davy Russell, I think, will be able to bide his time here, unlike on Petit Mouchoir yesterday, and pick up the pieces on a very talented horse, who many people think will be the Gold Cup winner next year. So Presenting Percy in the Philip Reynolds colours is going to be hugely popular as well. Beautiful horse to jump, as is Mona Lee, actually. Despite them being novices, they're a pleasure to watch. And I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but footpath jumps at the last two fences yesterday, particularly the second last. I think that's why we're all here. Just absolute virtuosity at its best. So
you think Presenting Percy is a potential Gold Cup winner next year?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Probably wants to win today or go very close, but without a doubt, yeah, he's really, really talented horse.
Time to get on that now then.
Absolutely. Training County Galway in small County Galway yard, so if this is the story I think the racing needs. Totally.
Anything else you're looking forward to today before we let you go?
What am I looking forward to today? It's actually hard to keep on top of things here with all that's going on. A few interesting runners later on the card. Like I'm on Cause of Cause's anti-post, but I am worried about the ground for him. He's won the race last year, and I think it's a big worry. I think the bumper is probably a race to keep an eye on. Felix Desgy here, basically, Jared, Jigginstown don't like runners in this race. They don't like the bumper, but Gordon convinced them to run this horse, that he was working so well. So they broke against tradition and they ran Felix Desgy in the bumper. He looks very exciting. Apparently he's working the house down. But he is running against Black O in the Florida Pearl colours for Willie Mullins, two very exciting bumper horses. In a cracking race, actually, to conclude day two, by which time, if Sam Crow wins, there will be a lot of smiling faces. If he doesn't, there will be a lot of frowns.
All right. Well, hopefully you're smiling tomorrow when we talk to you. Johnny, good luck.
I'll be here anyway.